here in the 91.3 FM KPVU studios. And I am Liz Faublas-Wallace, and I am a member of the marketing and communications team here at Prairie A&M University. And my beautiful colleague.
Hi, everyone. I am Timi Irby, and I am in the Research and Innovation Department here at PVMU.
So we couldn't be two completely different departments, but the conversation that we're about to have actually is part of that. Part of that, knowing that there are certain aspects of the campus that don't seem to align. But if you take the time to have a conversation with a colleague and a friend, you find that there are these nuggets of similarities that bind you and bond you. And we happened to be talking one day just about both of us having attended predominantly white colleges or universities or PWIs, right? PWIs as they're known. And we went on this journey of reflection that really left us saying, you know what, I wonder how many other people actually feel this way. And to me, it began with me saying, stepping foot on this campus and starting to work here ignited just a newfound feeling of belonging that I had not felt attending another university. And I'm nothing against the university, of course. It was different. The environment was different and the culture was different. And you echoed that. And here we are.
Yeah. I think even going back to that conversation, I just rushed into your office being like, I'm 7 months into this job and I have worked at other universities. And as a Black woman, I have never experienced this really interesting space of belonging and identity and authenticity where you experience all kinds of Blackness. And there isn't a Blackness that is the right Blackness. There isn't a representation that is the expected. And even in encountering students, I was telling you that just the freedom that they have, that there is this, and we can talk about this probably later, this lack of having to be in a fishbowl because you are not the other. Everyone is like you. Right. Everyone is a person of color. Everyone is a Black and brown person. Yeah. And I remember mentioning to you that I used to have a role that was very visible. I was in admissions and people would come and I would perform and like, come to our school. And I always felt like I was having to represent my whole race.
You had to be on.
I had to be on all the time.
You had to be on.
And when I got here, and my husband, who's this is his alma mater, and he works here. He was like, "Nobody's checking for you like that." I was like, "I don't believe that.
Right.
That can't be true.
Tell me anything.
Right.
Tell me anything."
This idea that you are not on,
right,
and nobody is checking to see how you're performing your Blackness. I just thought was a fascinating reality.
That's a level of comfort that I was unfamiliar with. Whether it meant going to a school unlike this one or working. I was an anchor for so many years, an anchor and a reporter, and there was just a different look. Like having your natural hair was not something that was encouraged back when I was doing television. And to be able to now come into an environment and a culture where it is not only encouraged and inspired, it's celebrated.
Yes.
I think just as a woman broadly and as a Black woman, there's a certain sense of pride that we all need in order to just circumvent some of the challenges that we face.
Yes.
And when that pride and that confidence is tamped down for whatever reason, for whatever challenges, for whatever obstacles that we're facing, we are not encouraged to be the best that we can be. And I went through, just full transparency, I just went through a lot of my life with that imposter syndrome, kind of holding back.
Yeah.
For what, and I didn't even understand why. I didn't even know I was holding back. How about that? Yep. I just was pretty much kind of just going through my paces with it. But when I became just more aware of how proud I should be, not that I could be, but that I should be, and when I became more aware of just my level of confidence, walking among a culture that I didn't know or didn't fully understand, and then to be embraced by that culture, and now to represent what that culture is in terms of academics, in terms of history, and just walking on the grounds of the campus and understanding. I am part of something. I'm part of a legacy that not too many people have, and not too many women of color have experienced. It emboldens me to a certain way. I mean, if I could use that term, it empowers me and it emboldens me. And it's something that it's indescribable, but we're going to try to describe it today.
Right,
obviously.
for sure. I love that you say that, because even as you were talking, I kind of got this visual of there's already some kind of tapestry here, and we got interwoven into it, right? Perhaps we didn't go
perfect way to say it.
Right? It just feels like we weren't excluded because that wasn't our undergraduate or graduate experience. But now, and you mentioned this culture, no one could have told me what HBCU culture was until you go to your first homecoming, until you see alums come back. You get that full idea that there's this pride that I went through this very specific experience and it shaped me and it formed me and it made me think about how I was going to go into my future, and it made me want to give back.
Yeah.
The alums give back in such an incredible way because they remember the people who gave back to them at the time. So there's this beautiful cycle of reciprocity, this beautiful cycle of being your brother and sister's keeper. And I think that is something that cannot be taught in a classroom.
I agree.
It's a culture to embody, and you get here and like, oh, I feel like I should pick up something that I'm responsible for and somehow. So
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Just again, if anybody's just tuning in to our conversation, I am here with my amazing colleague and friend, Timi Irby. I am Liz Faublas-Wallace, and we are here in the 91.3 KPVU studios, just talking about being able to embrace where you are at an HBCU. We celebrated I Love My HBCU month not very long ago, and kind of like you, I came to work here. I didn't attend. I'm not an alum, so in a way I held back when I first started. Like when people would celebrate, or when we would go to commencement, or when we would go to homecoming, and they would do the daily, the historic, the rituals that they had, or the traditions that they'd have, I would step back kind of feeling, you know what, I don't want to interfere, or I don't want to seem like I'm infringing upon something that's sacred just because I want to belong. But that notion was quelled immediately, simply because we are in a culture and on a campus where they're like, girl, come on. This is all us. This is what we do. And my celebration of the campus, my celebration of the work that I do in marketing, and just interacting with colleagues, with faculty, and with students is so long-standing now. I feel like I've been here forever.
Yeah.
I tell people who asked, well, did you go to the university? Because when I tell you I bleed purple and gold, it's fascinating to me how I have come to embrace and extend so much pride in a place just by virtue of the history, just by virtue of the people that I talk to, meeting you, meeting your amazing husband in the department that I work with, and understanding that we are all part of something so big and something very important. Not that it makes us better in any way. I really think there are conversations where people kind of interpret our type of pride and what we feel for the university and what we feel about ourselves seems somehow to suggest we think we're better, when no, we just believe, we're the best for us.
Yeah, we're in a league of our own.
We are in a league of our own. We are our own competition, is a way I like to look at it, because we work to elevate this culture and talk about this history. And finding oneself, for me, and this is something I really want to impart for young students that are listening, finding myself was the most empowering feeling that I have ever experienced. Yeah. I've shared with you that my upbringing in a Caribbean home, in a Haitian home, was very strict. Which, I'm pretty sure, as my husband always says, girl, it's not just a Caribbean home.
It's a Nigerian thing too.
He's just like, that's a cultural thing. So of course, it's not something that is endemic to being in a Haitian home, but that's all I could speak to.
Sure.
And I was just taught differently. I was taught to have a sense of pride in myself, but I was also taught, just go to work, go to school, have a child, take care of home, grow old, make sure your children are educated, and that's it. There was no real push to be a certain level of success. And when you were successful, which was the expectation, good grades, good job, you pretty much were just doing what you were supposed to do.
Exactly. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. So there was no celebration of it. It changes you when you come into an environment where it's not only celebratory, there is an expectation that you're going to be better.
Yeah.
There's an expectation that you want to show out, show up and show out,
right.
As certain people say.
But along with that, there's an expectation and there's the support to make sure you get there.
Keep talking.
Right? Because I think that's when you have high expectations of people and you say, that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Or, you're going to get there and we celebrate. But no one talks about that gap between the expectation, the realization of those things. And
let's talk about the gap.
Oh, the gap. So I feel like college is this really interesting place where you get people from all sorts of different backgrounds and the end goal is the same for them all. But then you have to catch everyone up to speed in their own different ways. And that's why I really appreciate the different departments and even the professionals that are here. I have to shout out your office because I have witnessed you all mentor undergraduate students, and the conversations you all are having are not classroom conversations.
Right.
They are about professional development, and this is how you carry yourself. And you might be going to an internship where no one looks like you, but the expectation is that you're representing PV and you have to act in a certain way. And so I think that bridging of the gap is so multifaceted, and it's such a service to students because it's not just the career department. It's every single professor that you meet that sees themselves in you and says, when I was there, this is what I needed. So I'm going to be what I needed. And I don't think I've seen any other campus embody that as much as PV does, that responsibility that if I want to see an outcome in our campus, I have to be part of that solution. Yes. And so that gap, I feel like, can exist and it can just be prevalent in a community if people just say, well, that's just the way it is. This generation is, all they know is AI. They don't write papers anymore.
Dismiss it.
Exactly. But this campus, I feel, has taken it as their own personal responsibility to say, the students have to graduate no matter how long it takes. We're going to be there with them. We're going to be pushing them. We're going to hold their hands. We're going to support them. We're going to challenge them as well. Like, hey, I see a gap where you could be doing better, where you could be doing more, and I don't mind calling you out on it. So there's this, it really does feel like a big brother, big sister kind of dynamic. Because yes, you're professors and yes, you are, these esteemed professionals, but there is that care piece where it's like, I'm not going to see you drowning and let you drown.
I love that. I love that you said that. This is a great opportunity to talk about initiatives like PV Cares that is kind of still in its beginning phases, but just the concept of it is so critical. I was sharing that with a young cousin of mine who's coming to PV. Yeah, she's going to be a Panther in September, and telling her how initiatives like that are pretty much PV centric. I haven't heard of it. If it exists, forgive me if it's somewhere else, but I do believe that PV Cares is an initiative that has begun here, where we will work with incoming or transfer students or students in general from the very beginning, with regard to academics, with regard to finances, with regard to counseling, and we're going to follow you all the way through. No child will ever be ignored at this university. And that is just such an important concept for me, because there were times where I was lost. Like, having immigrant parents that kind of just trusted you to know better. I love that my parents put that much faith in me, and I hope I didn't let them down. That was a heavy burden to carry. I had to fill out all the paperwork for college. I had to choose my colleges. I was actually speaking with my husband not that long ago, and I said, I must have had my head in the sand. I knew nothing about HBCUs.
Same. Can we talk about that? The recruitment used to be so different, right?
Yes.
And now, even the way PV is on my radar, I mean, PV was in my backyard this whole time. And
because let him.
Oh, right. Here. So I'm from Houston.
Yes.
I went to the University of Texas at Austin for my undergrad, and then I went to Syracuse University, both PWIs, amazing schools. But had I known I had the opportunity, perhaps maybe even for extra graduate studies or something like that, I would have even had it on my radar. But I will say, PV today versus PV before, I have to be very honest about that. This rise to R1. And this conversation about now we're about to have this R1 HBCU in the state of Texas. It's not a small thing.
Not at all.
And so I'm in the research department, so I get to see some of the caliber of research proposals and projects that are ongoing. These professors are not playing games.
And should not.
They are heavy hitters. And so we get to see the people who are really in charge of figuring out what does research look like for, our state, but also when you are an undergrad student and you want to be a researcher, you have your example right there. People
Prairie
doing
A&M.
real work at Prairie
At Prairie View A&M University.
So it's amazing just to see the school raise in the ranks. And I was thinking this in the shower earlier. When I was picking a university, I thought about reputation.
Yes.
And I just thought about ranking. And I never thought about representation. Oh my goodness. I was like, that never occurred to me to think about, can I go to a place where I can feel like I'm being represented while going to a school that also has a strong reputation?
Now, see, and as you mentioned that, I hadn't thought about it just because it's all I knew.
Right.
So it's so important that you even mentioned that, because part of this conversation, not only because it enlightened me as I was speaking with you, and I adore you, and I adore your journey and just your strength. So there were so many things that I wanted to bring to this conversation. Among them is just respect for woman to woman.
Yeah.
Just being able to see one another and uplift each other. That's something that I mentor young ladies all the time. And sometimes I even have to check myself a little bit. Just, we are so much stronger together.
Yes.
Because we obviously have these shared experiences and feelings and emotions. And to be able to kind of just help each other through those things, I believe would empower us even more. But just in keeping with what you were saying about representation and coming to this university, being in the department that I am in, and working with the people that I do, just being able to brand it, promote it, and market it gives me the same level of we are an immovable force.
Yeah.
We are definitely a university to be reckoned with. And we're seeing this from the back end. We're seeing everything that we're putting out there before everyone sees it. And you can take a step back and be like, oh man, PV's coming.
Right. You feel that.
No, how about that? PV's here.
Yes. You feel that on campus.
Yes.
And it's not just the buildings that are going up.
That's right.
You feel the collective recognition that, like, oh, okay.
So there's something stirring.
Yes.
Something stirring. And it's the ideal situation to know that we are on the road to R1.
Yes.
And our president's strategic, mission and the 5 pillars that are attached to that, which elevates our students, elevates our research, even elevates the history of the campus in such a way that we are on this journey to eminence, and it's not just wordplay.
Yes, and I can also add to that it's not just one element of the campus that is being raised up, right? And even as a staff member, we talk about sometimes how faculty members are like the shining star. Like, yeah, faculty.
But we love our faculty.
We love our faculty, and they are the obvious stars because you see them in the classroom, you see them at work, but oftentimes you don't see the people who work behind the scenes operationally. And I love that the strategic plan touches all of it. Yes. Employee wellness, are students graduating on time? Is the research being done? What do people need for support? And so this holistic view of the entire campus that if one area is being supported, the other areas are as well. So
a rising tide lifts all
yeah,
ships.
exactly.
Yes.
I thought about this earlier when you were talking about being an anchor, and maybe it's a silly thought that came to my mind.
Nothing silly during this conversation.
We're talking about representation a little while ago, and I'm thinking about the ways that you have to package yourself in order to fit your profession.
Yes.
Right. And so we always hear about like the anchor voice, which is probably like the most intense code switching that you could ever do.
It was code switching before I even knew the term.
Exactly.
I had no idea what that was.
Right.
I just was speaking in a way that, I thought I was supposed to be speaking in.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you unlearn some of that, right? Because part of my challenge was, I was saying, my husband said, you could just be yourself. Nobody is nobody is policing
you good
the way you
right?
show
Yeah.
up. And so this idea that you can just be yourself.
What?
How did you adjust all of that?
You clutched the pearls.
Right.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even know I was making an adjustment, I guess. It really happened after I left. So I have to be quite honest. I didn't come to the realization or accept that I could while I was in it. And when I see young anchors and young reporters actually embracing who they are at this moment, I'm so proud of them. And I wish I had, but it was a different time. But I would literally hear, I was joking with a colleague just the other day because they asked the same question. And I would be on set, and when the cameras weren't rolling, it would be, I can't hear you in my IFB. What are you doing? Get it together. Look. Because I'm Brooklyn. I am Brooklyn through and through. And I am so proud of it. And that Brooklyn would come out when the cameras weren't rolling. Somebody, heads will roll. Somebody go, hey, man, stop messing. And then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Liz Faublas, and welcome to the program this evening. On tap tonight, we're going to be talking to, and it would be like this weird switch goes off in my head.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice it until I stopped.
Okay.
And I was more Brooklyn than I was anchor. And there was a moment of sadness for me because I was like, was I being disingenuous to myself this whole time? Was I not proud enough of who I was that I literally had to change characters in order to fulfill what I felt this job needed?
Wow.
So that was a heavy time for me. And I don't know if a lot of people can relate to this, but it's like when you finally realize that you were not being your authentic self, that's a heavy blow.
Yeah.
It really is a heavy blow. I take it more positively in that I can now speak to younger women now, younger women of color, and let them know how important it is to embrace who you are now.
Yes.
This is your time.
Yeah.
This is, I feel like, I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, HBCUs are so sexy now. And I don't know if it's because I'm at an HBCU, if they've always been sexy, forgive me if they always have been, but I really feel like I hear the talk about it more. They're elevated more, they're understood more, and they have taken their rightful place.
That part.
They have taken their rightful place in the history of academics, higher learning, and accredited, approved, and honorable.
Yes.
It's an honor to graduate from an HBCU now. It's a privilege. And it's okay to say it in a job interview because it's going to open doors now. And this is a time for our younger generation, the generation that's here, the students that are here, from freshman to senior, to understand you write your own narrative.
Yeah.
Write your story. You own it. I media train some of the students here, athletic students, and I tell them before you appear before the media, understand this. You own the story.
Yes.
They can try to navigate, and this is from a former media person, so I know. They can try to navigate the story however they want. At the end of the day, you are in control of your story. You create your narrative. The amount of power that comes from being able to say, no. You're not gonna tilt me to the left or to the right. I own my story. This is the path that I've chosen, and I am going to narrate it the way I want. The power that comes behind that is something that I want to instill, not just in women our age, but in this younger generation. Control your voice. Own your voice. chart your territory and use the resources around you to help you do it in a finessed and polished way, obviously. Like, don't just run amok, because we don't want them doing that.
Right.
But, and at this university, I have found, just like you said just moments ago, the support is there, just the history is there, and the legacy is there to make sure your path is etched in excellence.
Yes.
I love Prairie View A&M University, and everything is given to me in the short time that I've been here. And it's an unimaginably beautiful experience for me.
Yeah, I can tell. And I love what you said about the empowerment that you have. There's so many things that are within your control as far as presenting yourself as your most authentic self, and even finding out what that is, right? And I always think about when I had my first role that was public facing at a PWI, and I always think it's so funny. When I took my staff photo, I had this really nice bob. It's like a nice bob wig, and I was like, yeah, so professional.
It's the bob.
2 weeks later, I had locks, and they were like,
Wait
that's not who we hired. It's too late.
Right.
You cannot
You got
rescind the
me now,
order.
boo.
I have
You got
already
me now.
started. And from there, I just kept leaning into the authenticity, and I used everything. You know, even it's a small thing for me, but wearing red lipstick, right? I walk into the room, you see a dark-skinned woman, and she's wearing African attire instead of a suit, and she's wearing red lipstick, and she has locks. What's going on? But what I found was that when I was recruiting students from underrepresented backgrounds, the parents would make a beehive to me and be like, are there more like you over here? And now my authenticity
It's that
is
relatability.
exactly. I'm
Yes.
relatable. I'm drawing in people who are looking to see, do I fit here?
Yes.
Now, something happens when I step on an HBCU campus, and everybody is doing that at the same time. Literally, my first day of work.
You're like, what? Hold on.
Can this happen?
Yes,
Are
is that
we
you? What does that
allowed to
mean?
do
What?
this? Exactly. And I just love the representation
I love
and the
that.
power.
Are we allowed to do this?
We allowed to do it.
I love that.
You know?
Yeah.
And the great thing, and I said this to you earlier, the students don't think that way.
At all.
There is no part of them that is asking for permission to exist. It's us that have had to unlearn all
is
the
such a
spaces
key-
that were
oh my
hostile
goodness.
to us. But we are raising a generation of
key
students and graduates that don't feel like they need to ask permission.
No permission.
To be great or to be excellent. They were bred with this idea that, like we said earlier, that's the expectation.
Right.
And there is support for you to get to where we expect you to be. And it's such a beautiful thing, the confidence. We heard from a graduate who was just like, oh, I was just thinking of you the other day. She's gone on to do amazing things. She has her career in the media. And
As
you just
many
think,
of our students do.
many of them
Yeah.
do. And we have countless stories of people who felt equipped. And that's the part we talked about it. You can't teach that. That
No.
equipping is a confidence you feel in yourself. And it's
right.
not just in the things you studied, but you feel like you can hang with the big boys because you were trained that way.
That's right.
You know, and so
It's a new
beautiful.
level of expectation.
Yeah.
We just definitely want to let everybody know that this is a conversation that was just born of two women of color sitting down and finding similarities. And we're very grateful to 91.3
Yes,
KPVU
thanks for having us.
for offering this platform to us. And I am Liz Faublas-Wallace from the Office of Marketing and Communications, and my beautiful colleague here.
I'm Timi Irby from the Office of Research and Innovation.
And we want to continue the conversation. I think that there will be hopefully a part two, but as with all conversations that I have and that you have as well, because I know that you have a very well-rounded mind, I want to leave at least a nugget here for anyone who is listening, and to encourage them to come back for what could possibly be just another round of conversations, which I do hope happens. Like, what would you say to someone who's experiencing, or who wants to experience, or who might experience what we've experienced just being here at Prairie View A&M?
I would say tap into that authenticity, what that looks like for you. And that might require you to study people who are just themselves unapologetically. And I have found some really refreshingly authentic people on this campus.
Yeah.
And I find that it's contagious. That when you're in the presence of someone who knows themselves and they know their worth, you then start to say, you stand up a little taller and you start to
right.
dig. What makes me me, essentially? And there is a standard of excellence that is empowered. And I think if you haven't yet found that, surround yourself with people who walk in that, and you'll find that soon enough you will also be walking in that.
I love that. I don't even think that there's much to say beyond that. But the controlling of your own narrative,
Yes.
and writing your own story, and be empowered, and understand that you're among like-minded people who have not only aspirations for themselves but for you.
Yes.
Try so hard not to find the negative in little encounters or things, because you're just gonna run into challenges. It's just gonna happen. We're not here to paint a picture of, just roses through rose-colored lenses. You will find challenges, but also look for the people that are on this campus that you encounter, that you work with, that you sit, in the MSC with, that will help you. You have no idea how many people are more alike than they are different. And just try to find those similarities and cleave to those people with positive aspirations and that uplift you. Find your tribe.
Yes.
Basically. I am grateful to have found part of my tribe in you, Miss Timi Irby. I think you shine so bright and you inspire me. And there's an age difference.
But I have to tell you, you are like a mirror.
Oh.
I feel like you're a woman of faith. I know that. And so
Absolutely.
You reflect the love of the Father to so many people. And I just think that it is a space that there's a lot of reciprocity. There's a lot of love, but people feel that. And that genuine love for people, you're a light as well.
So we're here to tell you, find your tribe, find your person, find your people, find your voice. So tune in. We shall definitely be back. I think this conversation has legs, as they say.
Yes, there's more to talk about.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.